What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back in the video. It's Monday. See what time it is. Time for the Mock Draft Monday. We did a deeper league last week, so back to 12 teams, back to full PPR, and then we've done picks 3, 10, and 13 over the last 3 weeks, so we'll randomize anything that is not those. We did 13 last week. Let's try and get a little bit away from the end here. 6. Okay, yeah, 6 mid-pick. Haven't been doing those recently. 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex spot, 6 bench. Defense, and of course, no kicker. And I'm putting quarterback on high again. It was very high last time. I can't figure out a way for them to actually draft quarterbacks earlier. So what I think I'm going to do in this one is assume that I can't get that. So in these previous drafts, it's very easy on these simulators to just be like, listen, I'll put up the cheat sheet. Quarterbacks like Goff, Herbert, Purdy, Caleb, Fields, Dak, May, Love, like all these guys are just going to be available really late in drafts for like free. That's not going to happen as much in your hometown league. It depends on your league specifically. Like my league, actually, in particular, a lot of those guys actually will be. People pretty much only take the one quarterback. But I'm going to assume in this one that we're in a league where people actually do draft that second one. So I'll try and draft with that in mind because I think it's a little bit more of what people see on average. So Chase, Jefferson, Bijan, Lamb, and Gibbs go at the top end. Obviously, we'd end up taking Saquon here. I'm going to edit this to Saquon just so we get, again, a little bit more accurate of a build here. So we're not going to give ourselves a free Saquon Barkley. This is actually the 6th pick can be tough at times because this is how the top 5 is going to go in the vast majority of leagues. Usually, you're going to see Saquon up. You're probably in a hometown league going to see Saquon and Bijan go 2-3. I think it's going to go Chase, Saquon, Bijan this year, and then you'll see Jefferson and Lamb. But when you get stuck with the 6th pick, there's a little bit of that drop-off. My projections do have in pretty much any format, even in full PPR, there's a mini tier almost. So obviously, you have Chase at the top. You've got these 2 stud running backs, these 2 stud receivers, and then a mini tier of Gibbs, and then you get into kind of all these wide receivers plus McCaffrey plus Genty. So personally, I would just go with Gibbs at this spot. You lock up that running back. It allows you to go hero. It allows you to start off maybe with a running back build if people go heavy at wide receiver. But it just gives you that running back to start off that we know hero is typically in a lot of seasons a very smart way to draft, at least starting off with. So we will go with Gibbs. And for those of you who don't know, hero is basically just round 1 or round 2, lock up a running back you think can be a top 5 to top 7 running back. That is your guy. You will spend the rest of the draft, not necessarily early, just the rest of the draft trying to find that running back too. But you know that if you don't get there, there is free agency, there is the trade market, and you're hoping that you draft that running back one that can be that hero, be that anchor. It's also called, and that basically just the rest of the season is try and figure out the number 2. Of course, the risk that comes in is basically, does that guy go down? And if so, that hurts you. But realistically, no matter what strategy you implement early on, that is going to be a reality that if your first round pick goes down, it's going to hurt. All right, let's see what happened in this draft. So after we go, 3 running backs go, and it's the 3 running backs you'd expect. McCaffrey goes 107, Genty 110, Derrick Henry 204. Bowers goes at 205, no other tight end, no quarterbacks. And then we see Puka, Neighbors, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Brian Thomas Jr., London, Nico, A.J. Brown, and JSN come off the board. So pretty accurate how it's happening. We do not go quarterback in round 2. That is a round 3 thing that we will maybe consider. I typically like to wait a little bit longer, but we will see in round 3. McBride wouldn't be like a bad pick here, honestly. I think the rankings actually have him the top player. And I've been doing so many of these mock drafts, and we have not really been taking a tight end early. So I actually would be pretty interested to see how it works out. Because, again, the projections have McBride and Ladd, like, right there. Both phenomenal picks. I think both going to have exceptional seasons. Has Achane at pick 19. We are at 19th overall, but these guys are better values. I mean, right now I have McBride at 16 and then Ladd at 17. Again, I kind of made the video on, I think it was Friday, kind of talking about how this season it does set up, and every season sets up with your tight end strategy being like, can you lock in a stud? If not, wait a long time, take 2 of them because there'll be options later on that can give you that lower end production. You can stream tight end, you can figure it out. Don't really go for that mid-range. It historically has not really worked out, but we've been waiting in a lot of these drafts. So I think I want to see how McBride works out. I think if my this is my like high dollar league. Maybe it's my family league that I really want to win. My gut says I would probably end up taking Ladd, but I want to see ranking Sam McBride, and I want to see kind of how the team turns out. So we'll take Trey McBride. We've got Gibbs and McBride locking up 2 studs here. I'll pull up the team on the left. Okay. After we go, Josh Allen off the board, Lamar Jackson off the board. You'll probably see that in a lot of hometown leagues. I'd say more high stakes leagues. You probably won't see it as much, but hometown leagues, you'll see that. Achane, Breece Hall, Chase Brown, Bucky Irving at running back, and then Ladd, Garrett Wilson, T, and Rashee Rice comes off the board. We talked about him a lot on Saturday. So we are up. Because I went after Trey McBride, I probably wouldn't take one of these top-end quarterbacks in 3. I get the question a lot, like, what kind of my favorite style is? Is it tight end early, quarterback late? Is it both of them early, both of them late, quarterback early, tight end late? I think you kind of just have to see what happens throughout the draft, what value comes to you. What I'll say is, again, at quarterback, what I say almost every year is that there's so many good ones. There's probably 20 quarterbacks this year that I'd actually be fine with. Now, if I was taking the quarterback 15 as my first one, like obviously I'd want 2. But there's so many that are good that you want value. And at this point of the draft, mid-3rd round, we're at pick 30 overall. I mean, sure, I have Jaden Daniels at 31, so it's a good pick, but it's not a value. And at some point in a draft, quarterback will become a value. And because we also spent that early pick on tight end, it becomes a little bit more uneasy in full PPR, waiting until a minimum of the mid-4th round before taking a wide receiver, when I've said many times there is a drop-off at wide receiver this season. So probably would not. It'd be interesting to see, and maybe we'll test it out in this draft. But Jaden would obviously be the one we'd be taking at quarterback, but I don't think I would end up doing both tight end and quarterback early this season. Obviously not going with George Kittle there. Running back, obviously Jacobs, JT, I would say kind of in a tier of their own. I can tell you in the rankings, Jacobs is at 29, JT is at 32, so right in this range here. The next would be, Kamara actually in full PPR, but that's at 37. So they're in a tier of their own. Of course, we see Kyron drop off in full PPR because historically that offense is just not going to target running backs. Like there is almost a 100% certainty that they're going to be like bottom 5 in running back targets. And so when you have that reality baked in, there's only so much in full PPR that Kyron can do. And that's even assuming that you don't have Jarquez Hunter kind of taking a little bit more work than Blake Corum did last season. So there's a lot of risk there. And especially as your second running back pushing off wide receiver again, you just wouldn't go there. But Jacobs, solid pick. Jonathan Taylor, solid pick. But I have Tyreek Hill at 25 as the top wide receiver. I have Marv after that at 28. Having waited this long, to me, again, full PPR, you don't want to push wide receiver off too much. I think you kind of have to just go there. Jacobs, JT, again, perfectly fine picks. If you want to double dip and then basically not take running back for a long time, that is fine. But I think in full PPR, it makes a lot more sense to just grab Tyreek Hill, who, it's Tyreek Hill in the mid-3rd round. Like, this is historically a value we have not seen. He's an exceptional player. Like, he is easily capable of having 1,500 yards, 15 touchdowns if everyone stays healthy in that offense. So, yeah, I think that's a really good pick. Okay, pull up the draft board. After we go, Jaden Daniels is the next pick. Jalen Hurts goes. So that top 4 is gone. There's a mini tier of Joe Burrow, which we'll probably not take at 407. So, not going to go quarterback. We're obviously not going tight end here as well. No tight ends do go, which is unfortunate. You want to see people taking the positions that you aren't going to be taking. Then an even mix of running back and wide receiver. Jacobs, JT go after. So Daniels, Jacobs, JT, the 3 picks that we're considering there, all go right after. Kyron Cook and Ken Walker. And then Adams, Devonta Smith, Terry McLaurin, Mike Evans, and DJ Moore go off the board. So we're sitting here at 407, pick 43, not going quarterback, not going tight end. Kamara is still available. I just mentioned that he was at pick 37. After him, if we weren't going to go there, the next running back, you're looking at Hampton. Hampton right here. I guess there's a chance he's available at our next pick. I did, again, bump up rookies, so my guess is that someone will end up taking him, but it's Alvin Kamara, it's Hampton. I don't know that you're considering other players. Mixon would be in consideration, but with them drafting Woody Marks, with Chubb signing there, like there's at least a chance that we see a little bit less volume for Mixon. And I think Kamara is just pretty obviously would be the pick if you were going running back, even though the carries aren't going to be there. The receptions are going to be insane. They need him in the receiving game. And let's be honest, they don't have running backs we're fearing right now unless they add another back. So Kamara's an option, but Marv's in a tier of his own right now, like in probably any format here. When we see the top wide receivers right now by their quote-unquote ADP here is Marv, Sutton, Metcalf, Flowers, Olave, Godwin, Waddle, Judy. Like, these are some good players, but none of them are even remotely close to Marv. I'm very surprised they don't have a tier break for Marvin Harrison Jr. I have him at pick 28. My next ranked wide receiver, we're looking at Metcalf at 48. Like, that is absolutely a different tier. I know he had I don't even want to call it a bad year. He had a perfectly fine rookie season. It just maybe he fell short of our expectations, but that's not his fault of that. He's a great wide receiver. He proved that last season. If you look at the underlying metrics, they play 1 billion games in a dome. There's 2 games all season where it's even possible they see semi-mediocre weather. Like, it's going to be great weather games. I don't know. I want to be investing in the Arizona offense, and to get him in the mid-4th round feels great. I know I have McBride. I'm not too concerned about that. It elevates some risk, but the amount of games that both Marv and McBride are going to be bad, like they're going to be so bad that it really hurts me. What are they doing in that game? Does James Conner have 200 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns? They're such a massive part of the offense that it's going to be very, very few games that happens. And that's going to happen at a rate that it would just naturally happen, that your 2nd and 4th round picks just both end up being not that amazing. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. And when you do it, you want to do it on a team that you want to bet on. And Arizona is a team I want to bet on this season. So, but we want to keep it in mind. Probably at this point, we're not drafting James Conner. Probably not Kyler. You could make an argument that if we want to go full in on this bet, you want to go after Kyler, and that means we got 3 picks right on offense. But it does, I never really want to look at bye weeks too much. It introduces a lot of week 8 disasters, right? Because Gibbs also has a week 8 bye. So if we really need to figure out our quarterback 1, running back 1, wide receiver 2, and tight end 1, we can win. And it can become beneficial in the future, because if you actually can figure out a way to pull off the win in week 8, well, now you have all those guys all of the weeks, and it's actually a very big positive for you. So it can still work out, but you probably don't want it to happen. So we probably won't draft Kyler, but we'll see what value he becomes. Okay. Unfortunately, Hampton goes a pick before us, but Kamara, Mixon, Harvey, Henderson, Hampton all go off the board. Kittle and Sam Laporta go. Joe Burrow, and then only 2 wide receivers, Cortland Sutton and Zay Flowers. So my guess is we'll probably take another wide receiver, and this is a really strong hero RB build so far. So again, no tight end, definitely not quarterback at this point because Burrow's gone. There's a huge drop off into this next range. You don't want to be first taking this range, so we're waiting at quarterback right now. Running back, again, honestly, James Conner is probably towards the top there. James Conner. We'll highlight them, but again, we're not going to take James Conner. James Conner, Monty, but I don't really want to take Monty and Gibbs. So running back just makes no sense for us right now. Swift also a good pick, but he's at pick 66 or at 54. Running back just makes no sense for us. So we're going to take our top wide receiver on the board. Technically is Tet, but he's way down here, and he's barely ahead of DK. It's 1.4 points of a difference, and DK is the top player, and there's, again, a strong chance we can get Tet with our next pick. So it would make all the sense in the world to play the ADP game on this one. Go after DK Metcalf. I know people have some concerns. Listen, Calvin Austin, Roman Wilson, really, they're not commanding target shares. So even if they end up going after, they have to go after another receiver for him to have below a 25% target share. Even if we see low volume, even if we don't see amazing chemistry there, or even if you think Aaron Rodgers is not good, he's so locked in as their top player that he's going to see unreal volume, great usage in the red zone, just such a safe and high upside pick. I like DK a lot this season. So we take him. I just think, again, with our construction as well, for going wide receiver, get 3 wide receivers, we're going to be heavily featured in their offense. We have 3 players who are on teams that are, let's be honest, probably going to be, I don't know about Pittsburgh, but I would say they're going to be probably league average offense. Arizona will probably be above average. Miami's probably going to be above average. Like, we have 3 wide receiver ones on above average offenses, and we didn't invest a top 2 pick. So again, the team, Gibbs, McBride, Tyreek, Marv, and DK Metcalf. After we go, we do see a run at quarterback. Holmes, Kyler, Bo Nix, and Baker Mayfield. We see 3 in Mexico, James Conner, Chuba, and Aaron Jones. And then we see Tet, unfortunately, Godwin, Worthy, and Travis Hunter come off the board. Okay. We've honestly, who were the quarterbacks again? So that is actually the mini tier. The mini tier goes Mahomes, Kyler, Bo Nix, and Baker Mayfield is a mini tier. And then you get into this huge grouping of Jared Goff, Justin Herbert, Brock Purdy, Caleb Williams, Justin Fields, Dak, Drake May, Jordan Love, Stroud, Lawrence, Tua you can maybe throw in there, but I'd probably throw McCarthy in there first. Maybe throw Penix in there as well. But that's what? Like 12 quarterbacks? Like, there's a huge range of quarterbacks where the difference between 1 and 12 is just not that many fantasy points. It's maybe like, I actually want to pull it up. What is the actual full season difference? Okay, so we start off that tier with Caleb at 300, like 300 flat fantasy points. The bottom of that tier, the bottom of the tier is like 40 fantasy points, but near the bottom of the tier is 20. You've got a huge group of almost like 10 quarterbacks where there's like a 1 point per game difference in projection, which means over a full season, you're going to have randomness mixed in there. It's going to vary a lot. So the 10 quarterbacks, where I don't really care which one I get. I like most of them. So you'd wait. This introduces the situation that we see a lot with the simulator is that the computers are just not going to draft them. They're not going to draft that second quarterback no matter how high I put them there. So I'm not going to let them last forever, but this is a range where you would say, I am not drafting quarterback. I am taking 2. I will double dip. And you would probably, if we have 14 rounds, you'd spend your 14th round pick on defense. You would maybe double dip in rounds like 11 and 12. That would probably be your target range, maybe 10 and 11 if people start taking quarterback. So no matter what the computer does, that's what we'll end up doing in this one. If they decide just not to take anyone, we'll go like, where do I have it exactly ranked? We'll do 10, 11. Rounds 10, round 11 at this point would be like the radar in my mind. That would be going off saying, okay, I want to double dip in those 2 rounds. So the next 3, we'll take skill players. 11, 12, we'll take quarterback. 13, we'll just take whichever filler skill player we need to end it. And then 14, we'll take defense. Okay. So we have 3 rounds, 4 rounds. We have 4 rounds counting this pick. Take skill player. Yeah, and I listed off all the players who had already been drafted. Okay. So Monty and Swift are still there. We're in a better pick now. We're at 67. I'll pull up now my overall rankings. I said I believe 66 was DeAndre Swift. And again, I wouldn't really want to take Monty. You can do it. I'm not totally against drafting handcuffs. Just this is not like we're in the 6th round. Like, this is not a handcuff range. If you wanted to, you could. But again, it's that week 8 bye that's going to hurt us. It's just the fact that like round 1 and round 6, I know I'm locking up all the running back points on a team that's probably going to lead the league in running back volume there. It's probably just a little bit too much risk, and it doesn't open up probably enough upside. They'd need to have an unbelievable season for both of them here to have that consistent production. Had I spent like a 3rd and like a 10th round pick to lock up a backfield, sure, but a 1st and a 6th, probably not enough. So Swift would be the play if you're going running back. I don't know. It's kind of tough saying if I want to do that, though, because at our next pick, we're probably looking at like Judkins, Caleb Johnson, Jalen Warren. I don't necessarily like Judkins or Caleb Johnson full PPR, but Warren I do. And I do want to get that running back too before we exit that range and go into like Tyron Tracy Jr., Najee Harris, Scattaboo, Mason. I don't really want any of them to be my running back too. So I'm thinking, Swift Pollard, that kind of duo. How much worse do I have Pollard? Decent chunk worse. I want one of Pollard, Swift, Judkins, Caleb, Warren needs to be my running back 2. On average, we're seeing about 5 running backs get drafted, and so there is a possibility they're all gone. I wouldn't be totally against Pacheco if that ends up being there, but one of these top 7 is probably going to be there. So we could avoid it one more round. If we wanted to avoid it for another round, who would our top wide receiver be? It would be Waddle, who I love this season, but we took Tyreek, and that's the one drawback of necessarily taking Tyreek there. But I have Waddle at 197. I have J-Mo at 196. I have Adunze at 194. Pickens, 194 as well. Olave, 194. So we're looking at a 3-point difference between all these guys. And so to me, that's saying take DeAndre Swift, lock up that running back. One of these wide receivers, one of Olave, Judy, J-Mo, Pickens, I would say Adunze, Ridley. Addison you can throw in there as well. One of them is going to be there at our next pick, so we shouldn't worry about that. I would worry more about that running back too. So let's end up, because there wasn't anyone else, right? Monty, yeah, okay. Let's end up taking DeAndre Swift. A lot of upside in Swift, right? If you believe in the Chicago offense, I talked about this on the Saturday video, like he's been rising in ADP just because we thought they would maybe go after Chubb. They don't. Maybe go after Dobbins. They don't. Maybe trade for some at this point. They don't. And that can still happen, but every day that it doesn't happen is another day that we have Swift as a potential starting running back, potential like running back 1 with receiving upside on a team that's obviously going to be better than they were last season. He had a ton of touches last season. I don't know. Significant upside. And that's kind of what you want to do with hero RB builds. Okay, it looks like actually a lot of wide receivers did go off the board, unfortunately. We take Swift, and they go, only Monty goes for running back, although Swift probably would have been drafted. Herbert and Dak go for quarterback, Travis Kelce at tight end, but then Waddle, Olave, Judy, J-Mo, Pickens, Ridley. Literally everyone they were clicking actually does go, but we still have Adunze, and we still have Jordan Addison before we kind of get into that tier break into Shakir, Myers, Jawan, Diggs, Downs, Debo, Pittman, Ayuk. It's definitely a different tier. I'd consider doing running back. So we've already filled up our starting lineup right now. Gibbs, Swift, Tyreek Hill, Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride, and DK Metcalf. So we've got 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, but I'd say value-wise we're closer to even there. We've got 6 bench spots. One of them is going to be quarterback, so 5 bench spots. We probably do want to go 3 running backs, 2 wide receivers to close out our bench. And I would like one of these running backs. It seems like it's going to be close, but I'd almost rather risk getting the tail end of one of these running backs because wide receiver, obviously, like in full PPR, I would prefer to have that wide receiver every time. And I do think Addison and Adunze are kind of just a tier above everyone else. And maybe this is just a team where, like, I know this is like a risky build to go after, but I have Adunze at pick 60. We're at 78 overall. I know that I would have Adunze and Swift on Chicago. I would have Marv and McBride on Arizona. But it's a way to say, okay, I'm just betting that Chicago and Arizona are just better than the general market thinks. And if I get those 2 things right, I get 4 players right. So it's kind of a chance to kind of correlate there. If you didn't want that correlation, you can go with Addison. But I have Addison at 171.7, Adunze at 174.8. It's only 3 points, but I just like Adunze more. He's got more of that chance to kind of be that top receiver, whereas like Addison obviously needs Jefferson to get injured. So you go either way there, but I think I would go in that direction. Oh, man, that is unfortunate. So we have a very unfortunate next round here. Of course, all those teams decide to just hammer the running back position, but we see Addison, Shakir, Diggs, Pearsall, and Pittman go off the board. Unfortunately, Pacheco, Pollard, Caleb, Judkins, Najee, Warren, and Brian Robinson Jr. all go at running back. No quarterbacks, no tight ends, which are 2 positions that we kind of wanted to see bits of runs at. But unfortunate, but we'll make do. Okay, so again, we said we're not going to go with quarterback. It would make no sense for us to do that. Even if we were assuming these teams were drafting a backup, there are still plenty of quarterbacks to double dip for. So 8, we're not going quarterback. But we're in a bad range for running back. So definitely good that I got Swift on the team. But I'm not pumped about Etienne, Tracy, Javonte, Stevenson. Like at this point, I almost view a lot of these guys not as handcuffs, but like in that like just ahead of handcuff range where it's like it's a very ambiguous backfield. I don't have a strong take on which one. I would rather just wait potentially and take the younger back, maybe a more explosive back in Tootin over Etienne. It's just a range where I don't want to be taking them. I like Mason, and I think Mason's probably a target for us in round 9. So maybe we go receiver and then running back and then the 2 quarterbacks. Like maybe that's kind of how we should be building this out. But I just don't want to take any of these top running backs. Like the running backs I want right now are Mason, Scadaboo because it's full PPR, and I think he's going to have a decent amount of receptions. Bayshal Tootin, and Jaden Blue, and Marshawn Lloyd really late. Like those running backs I want, and they're not even close to being up there. Of course, we have high on rookies, so some of them will get drafted a little bit earlier. But I don't think running back makes sense really for us to go after here. So who's our top wide receiver? Jawan, Downs, Debo, Ayuk, but we'd have to be careful there because he can't start. He's probably not going to start the season fully healthy. Cup, Reed, Mooney, Myers. My guess is it's Jawan would be the top wide receiver. And it is. I have Jawan Jennings at 184.6, Debo at 183.3, Myers at 180.3. At picks 73, 74, and 78, we're at 91. The appeal with Jawan is that he proved last season when Debo was, I think I heard the stat the other day. I don't want to be quoted on this. Pretty sure I heard without Debo, it was a 40% target share for Jawan Jennings last season. Obviously, that's because you've got Pearsall as a rookie, and you've got Pearsall recovering, Pearsall integrating into the offense. That, of course, is not going to happen this season. He's got a 40% target share, but he showed that he's capable of a really strong season. When you've got a guy that can score 50 fantasy points, can be a league winner, like he's clearly talented, clearly a good wide receiver. Do I think he's going to be a wide receiver 1? No, but he's really good. Like he's a very, very good wide receiver, and there's obvious opportunity with Ayuk not starting the season fully healthy, with Debo being gone. Mixed reports on people who think that defense is going to be good versus bad. Some people think it's going to be absolutely terrible. Some people think it's going to be really good. But I just think, 49ers, another team that potentially we have a wide receiver 1 on, and it's a very good offense. But we'll see. It's going to be a mixed kind of wide receiver room there. Okay. Again, running backs, Gibbs, Swift. That's it. We need another running back. We've got Tyreek, Marv, DK Metcalf, Adunze, and Jawan Jennings, but we need another running back. And I think it's going to be Jordan Mason at this spot. It's very close, actually, between Mason and Scadaboo. Personally, because of how we've built with this pick, I'd probably want to lock in someone that I trust, that I think is going to have, very good volume this season, has baked in upside. And to me, that's more Mason over Scadaboo. Scadaboo is someone who, again, I think is going to win that third down role. I think will be a good passing down back, but I don't know that that's the case. And I don't know that the Giants are going to be any good. I know the Vikings are going to be good. I know that Mason probably will have a couple dump offs, not a ton of receptions, but I know he's going to get volume on the ground. I know he'll get short yardage and goal line work. I know he'll get some receptions mixed in, and then has that contingent upside if Aaron Jones gets injured. Maybe it feels like too safe of a pick in full PPR, but to not have that next running back, I need this running back to have a much better chance of working out, and I think Mason has a much better chance of that than Scadaboo. Like Scadaboo could literally do nothing this season, and having waited this long, I kind of can't afford to have that on the team. So we'll draft Jordan Mason. I think that is a very good pick. And then we, double dip on running back? I think we probably have one more round than we were anticipating, but I said 10, 11, double dip at running back, or at quarterback at this spot. After we went at the Mason pick, it was a bunch of running backs. Someone went defense. Tight end goes in Njoku. Only Jayden Reed and Matthew Golden go at wide receiver. But we're going to double dip quarterback at this pick. So let me pull up the quarterback specific rankings. Actually, what's funny is Caleb is the top that I have at that like 300 spot. And so when I was talking about that after Bo Nix went, we were in the 6th round. That was our 6th round pick. And I was like, hey, there's this mini tier. And then there's a million quarterbacks that I feel very similarly about. Like Caleb was the next pick. And technically he's only 9 points behind Bo Nix in the projections. But that's why you wait, because that's a possibility we can have. So we'll take Caleb. And then the next quarterback after that is Justin Fields. But it looks like Justin Fields gets drafted after we go. If Fields goes, J.J. McCarthy goes, actually. That's interesting. I really like him as well, you guys know. After that, I mean, we're looking at that general, like, Goff-Purdy range. Again, we kind of did the thing where we're making a bet on Chicago. And I'm wondering if, I guess it's both Goff and Purdy. It kind of works out for in that way of stacking there. But again, it's okay to do this. This is a very, very risky build, but one that like can win it for you, right? Because if Chicago goes out there and they're having a really strong season, well, I just hit on Caleb, Swift, and Dunze. If Arizona goes out there and has a good season, I just hit on Marv and McBride. And you know what? Maybe I just make 2 here. I just say, you know what? Either Detroit has a really strong season or Chicago does, and I just take their quarterback. Some people don't like Goff. I'm just saying this because Goff is the next ranked quarterback. Some people don't like Goff at this spot, basically mentioning his touchdown rate and the fact that he wasn't like a top end producer last season, even elevated touchdown rate. What I would say to that is those same people are saying that like, oh, obviously they're going to regress this season. Like, no kidding. Like, obviously, you lose Ben Johnson, you lose other coordinators. You come off a season where like you just score a million touchdowns, a million points. Yeah, they're going to regress. I think they went 14-2 last year. Odds are they'll be worse. Odds are they'll be closer. Maybe even like they could be 10-11 wins. Like that could totally be in the range of outcomes because it's a really strong division as well. But that just means they're running the ball less in the second half. You know how many games they had last season where they just stopped playing in the 4th quarter and they just ran the ball every play and they're like, all right, this game's over. Like, you don't have to do anything. A decent amount. If you convert some of these games to in the 4th quarter, they're losing by a score or 2, all of a sudden you've got an offense that has a very consolidated target share, that has very explosive players playing from behind. So maybe, yeah, Goff doesn't throw it like a 6.5% touchdown rate, something crazy like that. Maybe that drops to like 4%. But if he's throwing the ball way more, that could even out. If he's throwing for more yardage, that could work out too. So it's not just like completely reduce the touchdown rate, have them win less games, but then like they're still throwing at the same rate. Like if that actually occurs, they're just going to throw the ball way more. And when you're throwing the ball way more to Jameson Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Amon-Ra St. Brown with Sam Laporta as well, like they still have very, very talented players, very explosive players on offense. So I think it's going to be very trendy to fade Jared Goff this season. He's a pretty safe pick, and if we can kind of pair that with someone like Caleb Williams, I'm taking a shot on the upside of Williams. If it ends up where the offense can't do anything, we go back to Goff. And you know what? It's actually kind of funny. I just thought about this too. This kind of takes care of both scenarios. If the Lions were really good last year because of Ben Johnson, well, now he's going to Chicago, and that means Caleb Williams probably crushes. If the offense was just good and Ben Johnson's not that amazing of a coordinator, and maybe it's just that the offense was insane because they have such good playmakers, well, now maybe the Caleb Williams pick doesn't work out, but the Goff pick at that point works out. So either outcome, I'm covered. I have a good quarterback, and that's basically all you're doing in taking quarterback 10-11 is just saying, I am taking 2 shots. I'm probably going to hit on one of them, and I can just dump the other one for someone hot on free agency. I can trade if both works out. Like I can do different things with it. I'm not reliant on both of these guys working out. Or if they do both work out, I can stream matchups also. Because Caleb has some gross games on the schedule. Okay, roster. We've got Caleb Williams and Jared Goff at quarterback. We've got Gibbs, Swift, and Jordan Mason at running back. We've got Tyreek Hill, Marvin Harrison Jr., DK Metcalf, Adunze, and Juwan Jennings at wide receiver, and Trey McBride at tight end. I think we would take 2 running backs. We'd take 2 shots on high upside running backs. We'll take a defense, and we'll call it a day. Upside here. I would say Benson, but I don't want to go too hard into this team. But Benson would be, does James Conner get injured? You have the direct backup there. Jalen Wright, similar story. Does Achane get injured? Does he have more of a role? Marshawn Lloyd, I think similar, but I think Marshawn Lloyd can kind of mix in general. Chubb, I guess, technically, but in a full PPR format, I don't know that I would go there. That's mostly it. So we actually might be forced to take Trey Benson on this one, and we're just making a full bet in Arizona because truly, like, there's just no other running backs, and then I would just take Marshawn Lloyd at this spot. I guess technically Jarquez is usually way down here. Yeah, Jarquez for some reason still at 87, but I like Marshawn Lloyd. I think he's going to mix in a decent amount on this team regardless. I think he could honestly get 8-10 touches a lot of weeks, even with Jacobs healthy. Explosive player. The model loved him last season. Unfortunate circumstances, having the appendicitis after coming back from injury. But some things are just kind of outside of his control. But good player, I think. A lot of upside there. Okay, and then we take defense, and we will get on out of here. Again, I have not done any sort of real look into the defenses this year, so we'll just take the top defense on the board. All right. I feel like 87 kind of makes sense for a score here. I don't think it was necessarily like the best draft we've done, but I think a lot of it makes sense. Again, I kind of went over why this sort of stacking for us can work out. It's never something that I want to go after, but when it happens in a draft like this one, where it's like, well, Adunze was kind of at the end of that top tier. Caleb Williams was clearly kind of at the top of the range of quarterbacks we were going after there. Like, if it works out like that, I'm totally fine doing it. I would never be like, have to reach on this to complete the stack. But if I'm betting on this team, yeah, I mean, if Swift and Adunze, if I want those picks to work out, I might as well take Caleb Williams then. So, starting lineup. Caleb, we've got Jahmyr Gibbs, DeAndre Swift, Tyreek Hill, Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride, DK Metcalf, and the Chiefs. And then our bench, Adunze, Jennings, Mason, Goff, Benson, and Marshawn Lloyd. Let me know what you think of the team in the comment section below. We will see if, I should have clicked. I am not. Unfortunately, I am not one of the people who likes the draft the most. Anyways, let me know what you think of the team. Let me know what you think, what picks you would have done differently. While you're down there, click the like button, subscribe if you are new to the channel. I'll catch you guys on 3 more videos this week and the live stream tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern. But we've got video on Wednesday, on Friday, and on Saturday as well. That'll do it for this one, though. Thank you all for watching.